As with many games nowadays, performance at launch is typically a disaster, except for in a few cases. For Cities Skylines 2 though, it will be no different unfortunately, but this time we did receive a warning ahead of time. Cities Skylines 2 is set to launch on PC next week on October 24th. It's important to note also that the console version of the game actually got delayed due to performance issues, with its new release sometime in the spring of next year, at least if we're being kind of optimistic. The PC version, however, is not being delayed, despite its apparent issues, and we'll get into some of the specs needed to run the game later on in the video. But let's transition now into what Colossal Order said about the game's performance, stating that Cities Skylines 2 is a next-gen title, and naturally it demands certain hardware requirements. With that said, while our team has worked tirelessly to deliver the best experience possible, we have not achieved the benchmark we targeted. I will say that this is one of the more unusual statements I've ever seen from a developer. Typically, if we do see a statement like this, it usually comes alongside a delay announcement, but Colossal Order is pushing forward on delivering the game regardless of its performance. I think it's important to note a few things about this genre of games though. The first thing being that the fans are loyal and almost die hard to an extent. Yes, there will be review bombing and abandoning of the game on its release, but eventually down the line, those fans will want to try out a new city builder, and there aren't a ton competing on the market right now. I mean, granted, you do still see a number of people playing SimCity 4, for example, years later. However, the itch to try something new will definitely take hold at some point. Furthermore, for the second point is that Colossal Order and Paradox Interactive are notorious for continuous development of their games. Cities Skylines 1, for example, had DLC and free updates pretty much from launch up to a couple months before the release of this new game. I wouldn't go far as to say that Cities Skylines 1 was a live service game by any means, but I do think it holds closer to like an early access game that never really finishes development. I mean, if you think about it, a city builder can really only go as far as its engine allows it to, and right now we aren't really sure of the limits of the new engine or the time frame in which Colossal Order plans on supporting Cities Skylines 2. But let's touch on two more topics, starting with modding. Recently, Colossal Order put out an announcement that an internal modding system of sorts would be in the game shortly after launch, and allow users both on console and PC to seamlessly mod their games through a system called Paradox Mods. I personally loved using Steam Workshop to mod Cities Skylines 1, but unfortunately it sounds like they're taking that away in favor of this new system, and I'm all in favor of granting console users the ability to use mods. However, I just hope that the interface of this new platform will be as easy to use as the Steam Workshop. Otherwise, it'll be nothing short of disappointing. But the reason why I mention this is that it does offer another solution to the problem of performance, as there will likely be a number of mods that address just that. However, that's not an excuse for a game to be unoptimized, but it is something to keep in mind. Like I mentioned earlier, the last thing I want to bring up in this video is some of the system requirements, and man, they're not light. For your minimum specs, so this is probably playing the game on the lowest setting, your CPU needs to be at least an i7 6700K or a Ryzen 5 2600X. For the GPU, you'll need at least a GTX 970 or an RX 480, but the question really is, with these minimum specs, is it just for 1080p 30 FPS? I know a lot of people put up with low FPS in Cities Skylines 1, I mean I did too for the longest time, but I am curious if the sentiment will be the same here for the new game. For your recommended specs, a CPU of an i5 12600K or Ryzen 7 5800X will be required. The GPU, an RTX 3080 or an RX 6800 XT. Again, it's kind of up in the air as to what resolution and frame rate that will get you. Is it 1080p 60 FPS? Is it 1440p 60 FPS? We're just not really sure right now. But I do want to shout out a member of the Cities Skylines community, City Planner Plays, as he will be making the sacrifice of testing the game on a number of different build configurations when it launches. I'll go ahead and link his channel down in the description, so be sure to check him out if that would interest you. But now I'll pass the question on to you guys. What PC setup do you have, and is it capable of running Cities Skylines 2, or are you a console player just waiting for the game to launch? Be sure to let me know in the comments below. And if you've come this far in the video, first off, thank you. It would mean a lot to me if you could hit that like button and subscribe to help out the channel. But until the next video, I'll catch you guys all later.